Welcome to the Miss Grand International 2021 swimsuit competition recap and reaction. My name is Dani Walker. Thank you for clicking on this episode. If you want to see more content like this, then be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when new episodes come out, just like this one every week. Miss Grand International has become something that I look forward to because of the show, and boy do they put on a show. So let me first say that I always get confused, and I'm sure somebody commented this last year, but please accept my apology because I forgot. They always do these swimsuit competitions, but then they also still have their preliminary competition where we're actually gonna see them on stage for swim and then gown for that show. So I'm always confused by this show, but I always love it because it's so fun and the location is always killer. Last year was a beautiful venue on some sort of building. It was on a rooftop. It was fabulous, but let me tell you, they topped that this year. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this drone footage. Look at these ladies on this boat. They look incredible. I would love to have competed in something like this. I never knew about Miss Grand International when I was age eligible. So, wow, I am sad that I missed out on all of this that's going on because this is incredible. The one thing I would add though that I was expecting to see was a flag on the boat. I was expecting a Miss Grand International flag to be waved and raised on the boat. Wouldn't that have been fun? They totally could have done that. Who do I need to talk to about this? One thing about this year's show is there were a few technical difficulties in the beginning, and I understand that. It doesn't look like an easy thing to be filming, but they got that worked out after a few contestants. I'm going to talk about this year's contestants in a sort of particular order. So first we're going to touch on the contestants that I'm feeling, that I could easily see making it to that next level if they are consistent with their next performances. These performances would make a lot of sense to me. Belgium. Okay, girl, I was feeling this energy. Did anyone else notice though that she did do the little salsa step down the runway that Indonesia did last year? Anybody else pick that up? I don't know. It looks similar to me, but she brought a lot of energy and it was great. Cambodia is also somebody who really brought the energy to this competition, and she personalized it with a little flick at the end. And this is something that is unique to Miss Grand International. The contestants have these signature moves that they place in their routines, and actually it's become something that I look forward to now because I'm curious about how they're gonna personalize things. Cuba, for a moment at the beginning, I was on the edge, but my gosh, when she did that spin turn, I was sold. Loved the performance. That was strong. Germany was such a surprise to me because we typically don't see Germany place for many international competitions. I can't think of the last time I can remember a Miss Germany making it into a semifinal, but this queen right here, it's in her eyes. She's got the drive in her eyes, and she had a great performance to pair that with. Malaysia, great facial expressions. She really draws you in. Myanmar, great opening hair flip. I have to say that Myanmar in the past few years has been sending strong competitors to multiple international pageants, and they're really rising to me, and I wouldn't be surprised with the right contestant to see them get an international crown soon. This year's Miss Myanmar did have a little fall, but honestly, great recovery. She picked it up real quick, and to me, if I was judging, that would not affect her score at all. Paraguay, super sweet energy from her and strong posing at the end. Spain, the straight hair look on her, perfect. And I will say that her pose in the center of the runway was just, it was right on. It was so clean. I loved that. Japan's performance reminds me a lot of Miss Grand Thailand's performance last year. I don't know if you guys were getting those vibes as well, but that's what I was feeling. She was bringing lots of great energy to the performance. I would, however, like to see her in a smaller heel. I don't think that the platform needs to be that big for the shoes. It does become a little bit distracting. Venezuela, bangs are coming back. Okay, look at her rocking these bangs, and then also look at Miss Maryland USA rocking the bangs. Listen, I am not ready for that trend. I cannot pull it off. I'm traumatized from my bangs as a child. But she was working it, great performance here, but I do typically expect a strong walk from Venezuela anyways, and she didn't disappoint. The next group of girls I'm going to talk about were on the edge for me. I can definitely see them moving on to a semifinal, and I believe that some of the contestants I'm about to mention will be moving on to a semifinal. Of course, it is going to be dependent on their interview and their gown performance, but based off of just a swimsuit performance, I'm like, I'm not really sure. I have to see how other things would go. Thailand, great walk. She was actually appointed Miss Grand Thailand, and she was a runner-up last year for Miss Grand Thailand, which was a very competitive year. And Thailand obviously placed last year at Miss Grand International. So she's a great competitor, but I did think that her swim performance could be a little bit more playful. I wanted to see a little bit more of a smile and for her to exhale on her poses. United States, I want to root for her, of course. I want to be biased, but I felt that she gave a stronger performance at her national competition. Granted, judges won't be thinking about that in the way that I do, but because I've seen more from her, I have a different expectation for her performance. So for that reason, I feel unsure, especially because of my personal bias. Hong Kong has been a great surprise. If you guys have been following online, she's just been making waves with videos of her singing and dancing and overall just having a really, really great time at the competition. And I love that. And I think that her performance was pretty good, but for me, it was the transitions between the poses that I thought could have been a little bit cleaner. Are you getting ready for your next pageant and you need help preparing for the interview competition? Yes? If so, check out Rehearsed to Relatable. This is where you can learn how to stand out in the interview room by creating your own personal brand. Just click the description below to check it out. India is somebody that I loved at her national competition, so I know that I am biased towards her, which always puts me on edge. I'm always like, is she really good, or am I just perceiving her as good because I'm a fan? So that's always hard for me to determine, but I think that if she does move on later in the competition, that she can work on just cleaning the transitions between her poses, but she is gorgeous. Peru. Another stunning contestant, but I wanted more intention in her walk, more drive. Vietnam had a strong opening, and that is what initially caught my attention, but I do believe that the transitions between her poses could be a little bit more crisp. Mexico for me was on the border. I didn't feel like the opening of her swim walk was necessary. And then after that, I wanted to see more presence in her face, more like living in the moment, but the walk was good. So that's why I'm like, how would judges interpret that? I'm not sure. Now I'm going to talk about the contestants that really stood out to me, really made an impression. Brazil, oh my gosh, that face, that hair, this queen has a look, and her style of walk just was very grand. Great energy, great movement from her. I loved it. Costa Rica, oh my gosh, that ponytail, the swing of her hips in that walk, and the shot of her final pose. Perfection. If you've already subscribed to the channel, but you really want to show your support in other ways, then be sure to check out my merch store, which is linked below. Dominican Republic, at the beginning of her routine, her eyes were giving me Rihanna, and then later she kind of reminded me of Zuleika, Miss Universe 2006, but oh my gosh, everything that she did was just so crisp and clean. She was just well prepared, rehearsed, but in the best way possible. Then I see Ecuador, and she is just gorgeous. Another contestant just coming for the crown. I loved her, just loved her. Philippines, okay, ladies, here's a lesson here. Assume that the camera is on you, because one thing that got me about this performance is in the beginning, it looked like she was going like this, making sure that her lips don't stick to her teeth, right? Like, it's like when you get nervous, your mouth gets dry. I totally get it. But you gotta do that before you're even close to being on camera. You gotta be ready. So that's something I think that she would adjust for the actual preliminary competition, but great performance still from her. I have to say though, in my heart, it is so hard to look at Philippines' performance and not think of Sam last year, who to me had one of just the best swimsuit performances I've ever seen. If we're talking about Grand International, I know it might not work for other systems, but Sam's walk last year was just, it was so memorable. It was truly iconic. So it's hard for me to look at Philippines this year and not think of Sam from last year, but I'm trying to separate the two. And I do still love Samantha from this year. And I will say, I think that she has such a gorgeous face on stage, and I cannot wait to see her on stage because that is where I think she's gonna shine even more. Indonesia is so fresh. I know that she's got a lot of fans out there. I think that she did a great job. I think that she's taking it easy for this part of the competition. I think that she could potentially give a little bit more energy, but still, her performance was clean and it was effortless. Puerto Rico, great performance. She nailed everything. She hit every pose. The eye contact was there. I felt that connection with her even through a camera. And for that reason, wow, one of my top picks. Colombia was mesmerizing. This was a beautiful walk, a beautiful performance, and honestly, I think it could cross over to the Universe organization. It could really go either way, but she immediately stood out to me. My personal favorite performance of this competition was from South Africa. She was killing it with that smile, with her facial transitions. Her eyes, her light eyes were so beautiful. She was actually kind of giving me Miss Venezuela vibes. It kind of seems like she's gotten some walking lessons from somebody in Venezuela. I don't know if y'all felt that too, but that's what I was feeling. But wow, that was just such a fun performance to watch. And I was blown away by her. If I were judging personally, I just liked the mixture of poses, of facials, of eye contact, the walk itself. I liked all of it. And it was just hitting that sweet spot for me for swim. So if I were judging, she would get my top score for this competition. Those were my personal favorites for this competition. I know that that's a lot of contestants, but I really wanted to break things up this way to explain my reasoning, because sometimes I include some contestants and then I exclude others and people don't understand the reasoning behind it. So I just wanted you guys to know I threw in a lot of contestants right now. I could have taken away quite a few of them from this episode, but I felt that it only made sense to really explain how I process my favorites and how I kind of put them in categories. And so I wanted to share that with you guys in this episode. I hope that you enjoyed this. Let me know what you want to see on the channel next. Just leave that in the comments below. I love to hear from you and create content especially for you. Also, let me know who your favorite is for this year's international competition. I would love to hear that. But be sure to keep all of your comments positive because the contestants do see this and we just want to be really encouraging to them and create a really positive pageant community. So thank you so much for watching this episode and I hope to see you next time.